Let's take a moment to acknowledge just how extraordinary your brain is. It generates up to 70,000 thoughts per day. It races with the speed of the fastest race car. Like your fingerprints, it is uniquely yours. There aren't two brains in the universe exactly the same. It processes dramatically faster than any existing computer, and it has virtually infinite storage capacity. Even when damaged, it is capable of producing genius, and even if you only have half a brain, you can still be a fully functioning human being. And remarkable stories about it abound, like the one about the comatose patient who somehow developed a method of communication with his doctor, or the woman who could recall important events by date, going back as far as when she was 12 years old, or the slacker who became a mathematical genius after suffering a concussion during a bar fight. None of this is science fiction or the product of a superhero comic. They're just examples of the extraordinary function built into the remarkable machine between your ears. And despite all of this, we take so much of these functions for granted. The brain is part of the central nervous system, the CNS. Similar to the control tower at an airport, your brain acts as its control center, directing all of the comings and goings of information, processes, and impulses. The brain has three major areas: the brainstem, the cerebellum, and the cerebral cortex. The brain is made of fat and water, weighs approximately 3 pounds, and facilitates incredible power and ability. The brainstems moderate the basic functions we need to live, such as breathing, maintaining a regular heart rate, impulses to eat or have sex, and/or fight or flight responses. It is located at the top of your spine and the base of your skull, buried deep within the brain. At the back of the brain, the cerebellum is responsible for moderating movement and coordination. The cerebral cortex is the largest part of our brain, where the majority of our complex thinking, short-term memory, and sensory stimulation takes place. It is made up of the occipital, parietal, temporal, and frontal lobes. Our frontal lobes are where most of our thinking takes place, where logic and creativity derive. The brain is split into two halves that are connected by the corpus callosum, which acts like a bundle of telephone wires between the lobes, sending messages back and forth. Right now, you have somewhere around 86 billion neurons, also called brain cells, firing and acting together in concert as you read these words and assimilate the information on these pages. These neural signals are released into the brain and received by neurotransmitters, which then pass the message along to other neurotransmitters or stop the message altogether if that's the appropriate response. We used to think that we reached our neurological peak in late adolescence, after which our brains never changed, other than deteriorate. We now know that this is far from the truth. Our brains have the capacity for neuroplasticity, which means that they can be changed and shaped depending on our actions and environments. Your brain is always changing and molding itself to your surroundings and to the demands you place on it. Because our brains are subject to the influence of our genes and environment, we each process a brain that is entirely unique to us. They're like snowflakes. No two are alike. Neuroplasticity, also referred to as brain plasticity, means that every time you learn something new, your brain makes a new synaptic connection. And each time this happens, your brain physically changes. It upgrades its hardware to reflect a new level of the mind. Our brain is malleable. We have the incredible ability to change its structure and organization over time by forming new neural pathways as we experience, learn something new, and adapt. Neuroplasticity helps explain how anything is possible. Researchers hold that all brains are flexible in that the complex webs of connected neurons can be rewired to form new connections. Sometimes that means the brain compensates for something it has lost, as when one hemisphere learns to function for both. Just as there are people who have suffered strokes and have been able to rebuild and regain their brain functions, those that procrastinate, think excessive negative thoughts, or can't stop eating junk food may also rewire and change their behaviors and transform their lives. For example, if you feel that something that you learned is useful at the moment, but you're never gonna really use it again, you're less likely to create a memory of it. Similarly, if you learn something but have no higher reasoning as to why it's important to you or how it applies to your life or work, then it's likely that your brain will not retain the information. We're human, no robots. But if we respond to the lapse in memory with the attitude that I have a bad memory or I'm not smart enough to remember this, then we negatively affect our ability to learn and grow. In other words, the belief we might develop in response to forgetting does far more damage than the lapse in memory. The kind of self-talk reinforces a limiting belief rather than acknowledging the mistake and reacquiring the information. What does this mean for learning? Plasticity means that you can mold and shape your brain to suit your desires. That's something like your memory is trainable, when you know how to help your brain receive, encode, process, and consolidate information. It means that with a few simple changes to something like your environment, your food, or your exercise, you can dramatically change the way your brain functions. Here's the bottom line. Neuroplasticity means that you're learning, and indeed your life is not fixed. You can be, do, have, and share anything as long as you optimize and you rewire your brain. There are no limitations as long as you have the right mindset, motivation, and method. Here's more good news. You are not limited to just one brain. You have a second, your gut. Have you ever had a gut feeling? That moment where you just knew? If you ever gone with your gut to make a decision or felt butterflies in your stomach, did you ever wonder why that was? Hidden in the walls of the digestive system, this brain in your gut is revolutionizing medicine's understanding of the links between digestion, mood, health, and even the way you think. Scientists call this little brain the enteric nervous system, ENS. And it's not so little. The ENS is two thin layers of more than 100 million nerve cells lining your gastrointestinal tract from esophagus to rectum. You might have heard of it as the brain-gut connection. In the last decade, we've learned that the gut has an outside effect on how our brains function. One can think of it as the way a tree functions. The roots in the ground are drawing up vital nutrients and water from the soil as well as communicating with other plants. Those nutrients are then brought up into the body of the tree, fortifying and building the trunk and giving the tree what it needs to sprout new leaves each spring, which in turn gather light, another energy source. In the same way, the nutrients we take in are absorbed through our intestines. So nutrients make a huge difference in the way our brains function on a day-to-day basis. When a baby grows in the womb, the ENS and the CNS develop from the same tissue and remain connected via the vagus nerve. In many ways, the two systems mirror each other in structure. They also both use many of the same neurotransmitters to function, including serotonin, dopamine, and acetylcholine. As with the CNS, we used to believe that we are each born with a certain amount of cells, and that's it. But like the brain, we now know the ENS makes new neurons throughout adulthood and can be repaired when damaged. The gut is made up of these neurons as well as a network of bacteria that form from the microbiome. And as with the brain, each of us has our own unique microbiome. Given that we have this tremendous power in our minds available to us, why are we struggling? If your brain is so magnificent, why are overload, distraction, forgetfulness, and feelings of inadequacy affecting us so much? How do we reconcile the fact that we have so much potential, but have days where we can't remember a single name or think of a way out of a paper bag? The answer is so simple, it is almost the elusive obvious. We are not taught how. Give a person an idea and you can enrich their day. Teach a person how to learn and they can enrich their entire lives. School is a great place to learn. There, we're taught what to learn, what to think, and what to remember. But there are a few, if any, classes on teaching how to learn, teaching how to think, and teaching how to remember. As a result, they're damaging the prospects of countless young people. Sooner or later, for better or for worse, they will affect you or somebody you know. What's going on, guys? Thank you so much for watching my video. My name is Felipe, I'm a full-time filmmaker and I love to read books. For the past 6 years, I've been debating whether or not I should start a YouTube channel, and today's the day. I just uploaded my first video. I am super excited and I hope you guys like it and find some value from it. Basically what I do is I read books and I create cool watchable videos like the ones you just watched. This one was a read from the book Limitless from Jim Quick. It's an absolute must read. I highly recommend it to anybody who wants to elevate their mentality and learn how to learn, basically. Check out the description in my bio. I'm gonna have a link there so you guys can find it. Yeah, if you guys like the video, please go ahead, hit that thumbs up. Every single like counts and helps me with the algorithm. If you wanna see more videos like this one in the future, go ahead and subscribe and ring the bell so you're the first ones to get notified when I upload a video. Thank you all very much and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.